All right.
All right. We're
Are
back.
we live? We're live.
We're not live because it's
I think we finally. I think the live stream finally went up.
Yep, the live stream. So for all of our $50 Patreons and up, there is a live stream version of this show. So make sure you get in there at that tier if you want to see the magic happening live. So this week,
I just want to take another moment here to remind people that if you want to link to the Patreon, that means that you have to sub at the $5 tier to the Patreon. Otherwise, please just enjoy this free stream of the show. So our guest this week is the lovely, what should we call you?
Well, I saw that on the last video you called me Antiprompt, so I guess we're going to go with that.
Cool.
Awesome. That's perfect. Sounds good, Antiprompt. So,
yeah, totally.
Farm,
I think anti is fine, actually.
Have you played any good video games recently?
Well, first of all, I have a couple of questions for our guest.
Well, of course. Go ahead.
And then we'll get back to me. So, is it anti or anti?
I'm not really sure. I don't know. I never really thought about that.
I say anti, and I think Streamo says anti.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, how did the Smash 4 player pronounce his name?
Anti.
Okay, then it's anti.
Yeah, I think
that's good thinking there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finally free from it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I was wondering what we should call you, because we could also call you Klaus, but I don't know if that's like a preferable. Or
yeah, you could. I mean, I was thinking it's mostly Tim Cord listening, right?
Well,
I'm not sure.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. I mean, it's mostly our $100 patrons listening, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get the intern to edit that out. Don't worry about that. So do you have any other questions for our guest, Auntie?
Yeah. So have you listened to the other episodes?
I listened to a bit of them. I figured, I actually was thinking about listening to the whole thing, and then I thought, this is not really the type of show where I'm supposed to do that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because you would want to listen to it if it was good, and I don't think... so that's all the questions
I'm going to have to disagree with both of those points, but I suppose we can move on. First of all, it is that kind of show that you listen to just the whole thing. And also it is good. But
No, I'm saying it is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying if you're a guest, you're not really supposed to do any research or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've actually been called the Eric Andre of podcasting. In that sense.
That's true.
Yeah. Also in the sense that we are... just that radical. So any video games recently, or on the horizon, perhaps?
Well, actually, I mean, before we do that, I wanted to raise issue with the fact that you falsely advertised that I was going to be on the last episode.
I am sorry about that. We've locked in with our producer the name of the episode before we started recording.
Yeah, we can't really change that. And that's sort of on the intern, too.
Yes.
He just kind of, fucked it up, and we couldn't really change it. I mean, the video already had, 2 or 3 views by the time we noticed, so...
The boys in the tech department, we really gave them an earful about it, but there's not much we can do at this point.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you come up with the name?
The name?
Of the episode.
Of the episode. I'm not sure. That's
name.
Kind of a backroom discussion that we don't necessarily like to have on these kind of forward-facing... podcasting episodes.
Oh, okay.
That's for the $500 patrons.
Yes, that's for the premium app. So we shouldn't necessarily go into that. The name of this episode, which we've already determined, and I'm sure you already are aware of. That is also besides the point, and we're going to move on.
And
from that.
It has been locked in, hasn't it?
Yes. No. Much like a lock.
Yeah. Well, I feel that you guys are kind of getting double the advertising dollars and double the clicks from this little arrangement that you've finagled.
Well, I mean, the analytics don't really back that up. I don't know if you've noticed, but the first episode had 31 views, and the second one, we're sitting at 7. So actually, I think that the Antiprompt brand is really bringing us down.
Ooh. Yeah, actually, we are going to be seeking repayment for those lost views.
We're going to need 24 views out of you.
But
no refunds, pal. No refunds. Hey, there's no such thing as a free appearance from Antiprompt.
There's supposedly some kind of a game festival or expo happening right now. Something electronic games. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I mean, do either of you care about E3?
What?
The thing about E3 is I care about the idea of it, right? But in reality, it's just like 17 hours of CGI videos of like, I don't know, himbos like climbing a mountain or something.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, I like the idea of taking the time to get the word out there about the new games that are coming up, get people excited about where the industry's headed. But it's really hard for me to get excited about, like an Elden Ring when we don't really know anything, or Starfield, which has been in development for 25 years, I guess.
In a larger sense, too,
trailer.
There's something kind of disturbing to me about how E3 is like a giant advertising festival that people like kind of pay money to go to.
I think
I don't mind that.
That's pretty weird. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's sort of all expos are like that, though. That's not necessarily an E3 thing.
Yeah, I think there's something kind of disturbing about that, right? I don't know. I don't necessarily know that we want to get into that, but Auntie, I think you might be one of those people that's excited for Elden Ring. Yeah.
No, not really.
Oh. Ooh.
All right, cool.
No, I mean, I was talking about this earlier, actually, on the server, on one of the servers.
I think we could shout out Autumn's Rise on here. That's a great server that we're members of. Yeah. It's a.
Can we say?
I'm pretty sure we can. It's a public server, so.
Okay. Yeah, we can just invite people.
Yeah,
that's true. Okay. Yeah. So you're fine. Go ahead.
Autumn's Rise. It's a good time. Come talk about Crosscode. Talk about Cyberpunk 2077. Just chill.
So why aren't you excited about Elden Ring?
Well, I mean, so this is based on the one trailer, so, I don't know. As it doesn't really mean very much.
Yeah.
But the visual style was boring. It was kind of fucking boring. And also, it's just going to be like a complete rehash of Dark Souls 1. If you're into that.
I like Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. I feel disrespected, because it's like, oh, like, Miyazaki, he's come up with a totally new concept for a game with George R.R. Martin. And then it's like, the tainted rise from the earth, reborn after death, and will be cursed to repeat an endless cycle until the lords are overthrown.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like Dark Souls 1.
I saw a tweet to this effect that's just like, that every new Soulsborne game is just like, the most evil things ever are evil everywhere. But suddenly, oh no, it's the most evil thing ever, and that's you, and then you have to evil all the evil things. But, are they good? And then the game ends.
Yeah, I think the story in the Dark Souls games isn't super compelling.
Well,
whatever there is of it, but I think people come for the lore and stuff, and I think that's really what they had Gurm work on, was like the lore and world building.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, Gurm is bad at that, though.
Well, okay. Have you read the Song of Ice and Fire books?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, I think the world building he does in those is. I mean, the story's there too, but the world building he does, I think, is well. I mean, the whole thing's really interesting, but he does good world building there.
When you say world building, are you talking about showing characters in the nude? That's my main association with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, definitely. So, a big part of world building is the size of someone's genitals, on average, right?
Would you say a tumescent part of world building?
I don't know what that word means.
It's a good word. Look it up. Anyways, no, I'm also not super excited for Elden Ring. I hear it's going to be a Zelda-ish.
That was the other thing.
That's weird, I guess. That's cool.
Wait, did you possibly hear that from me?
I talk to a lot of varied sources, and I like to think I'm pretty informed.
Okay. Well, I just asked because I was one of actually the first people to get out that news.
Oh, you broke it? Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the trailer, as I did very early on, excuse me, it's Zelda. It's overwhelmingly Zelda-esque.
Honestly,
visually,
the first 5 seconds of the trailer I watched, and then my eyes just kind of glazed over, as like you guys have said.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, I'm the lost, forgotten, and I have to, recircle.
But I like Zelda.
Stones or whatever. Yeah, Zelda's cool.
Zelda's cool.
Well, yeah, but it's like, you got all these grassy fields and like crowns and princesses and like castles.
That would be okay. I would actually think it'd be very funny if Elden Ring had a 4-hour-long tutorial for every new game. I thought you guys wanted a Zelda-like. What's wrong? Why are people angry about
annoying
this?
Sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen.
But it's terrifying.
Did you know you can rest at bonfires to restore your essence?
Well, don't tell. There are certain individuals who'd be very upset if they heard that in a Dark Souls game you had to unlock certain abilities and movements throughout the course of the game.
Oh, I don't even know to what you're referring, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, we wouldn't want to trigger anyone here. We're pretty careful about that,
Andy,
you actually
did you like Sekiro?
I didn't play it.
Shit, brother.
Actually, Andy, have you played
someone
Omori?
else. No, I didn't play that either.
Really?
I'm really
You probably
crushing it
shouldn't.
in this podcast appearance, aren't I?
No, you're doing great.
Well,
do you want to talk about Dark Souls 2?
Well, hold on. I understand that you're a big Mother 3 fan. Is that wrong?
No, that one's right.
Okay.
That one you got.
So what I thought was interesting about Omori was there's a lot of stuff that I really just don't like about it, but it definitely affected me emotionally more than any other Mother-like game has, including Mother 3, which I thought was great. Previously, I thought that was the peak of the genre.
You thought it was the peak of the genre?
Oh, of course, yeah.
I thought you thought Lisa was the peak of the genre.
I mean, Lisa, I think, works really well as a deconstruction of masculinity, an examination thereof, but I don't necessarily know that it's the best, in the genre. I don't know. It's a very wide. Well, the thing is, it's sort of very wide, but also it's mostly just kind of walking around areas, so it's not that wide.
Isn't that what all of them are?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's also what Death Stranding.
So how do you compare Lisa and Undertale? You know what I mean? They're both the same genre of game, but I don't think you could even compare a Lisa and Undertale. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, Undertale sort of has gameplay sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, sometimes you'll be in a battle in Undertale, and you'll actually have to do... Actually, it'll be sort of like you're actually playing a video game. Whereas what they do in Lisa is it actually simulates you're typing something. So it's kind of you'll be in the middle of a battle in Lisa, and it'll be you're doing your taxes, kind of. It's pretty...
Yeah, typing of the dead sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
Well, I could really never get into either the Undertale or the Lisa gameplay, because they both just seem to consist of digital and manual inputs.
Right.
Are you more about analog?
Yeah. I played Lisa on a keyboard using the 4 direction keys.
Yeah.
It just wasn't really,
It's not the same.
I wanted to play Lisa on 3DS, but they don't have a port of that version of RPG Maker yet.
I played Undertale on a keyboard too, I should add, right?
Right.
I think you have to. I don't think you can even play it on a controller.
No, you can.
Which, I'm not sure about that.
I mean, it's on
But
Switch.
anyway.
Okay, so
so
for our listening audience,
yes.
So why is Lisa good? And for me too.
Well, so you could start with what Streamo said, which is that I think it's basically a dissection of masculinity. I think it's also told in such a way that kind of draws a connection between, toxic masculinity, quote unquote, and the way that video games are typically structured, right? Where you go through this parable of just getting stronger and stronger and stronger until there's absolutely no resistance in the game left. And at that point, the game's over.
Yeah, and
so I
Lisa's
think
sort of the opposite, right? you're like leveling up and stuff, but your character is like your main character is physically getting like maimed. He's losing limbs.
Yeah, and becoming ever more degenerated.
Well, but he is still like strong enough to fight. And there's a. Can we go spoilers for Lisa? I don't particularly care.
Yeah,
so there's a point at the end where like you have to essentially, as the main character Brad, you have to kill your party members. They are fighting to stop you from going forward, and you want to go forward. That's your whole thing.
Well, that's the and that moment is when you become completely consumed by desire, right? And you become this unstoppable abomination.
Yeah. And like you were saying, that's kind of the point. I think what's cool is that the player kind of begins to feel there's some like resonance between the player and the character's actions. I remember specifically at one point, and I might have even talked about this on this podcast before, but where you're riding a bike near, you're not riding a bike yet. There's an area where there's a gap. And if you walk up to it and talk to a person near it, they'll tell you that you're too fat and old to jump across the gap. And it's correct that you actually are too fat and old to jump across the gap. You need to get a bike. Yeah. And so it actually does sort of feel bad as the player. Like, you are correctly being told that you suck. And it's like, shit. And there's kind of moments like that throughout the game.
Yeah. Well, for instance, there's the very famous one. That appeared in the Donkey video that I think most people have seen, where the game basically flat out tells you like you're gonna go up this 300-foot ladder, and there's nothing at the top, and we're telling you there's nothing at the top, but you're gonna go up it anyway because you can't help yourself because this is a video game.
I haven't seen that Donkey video, but I have played that section.
Oh, okay.
I've also played Lisa the First, and there's a section that resembles that, although the ladder is less tall. That game also is, I think, considerably more problematic, probably, than Lisa the Painful. It's also worse, although it's interesting in context.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I've watched quite a bit of it. I think it was basically like an early, like, experimental attempt by Ding-a-ling.
It's pretty much you and Nikki.
Here we go.
No, I mean, literally, it exactly is. You are wandering in RPG Maker surreal, dreamlike environments to collect effects, or in this case, you collect items, except in Lisa the First, the items that you're collecting are like various implements that you use to commit suicide. It's kind of a messed up game. Interestingly, although we might not necessarily get into this. Never mind. Actually, I don't want to go there.
Okay.
Yeah, but so Lisa the First, weird game. Lisa the Painful, though, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Lisa the First, it's definitely just edgy, for one thing.
Right.
I think the Painful is pretty edgy too, right? And sometimes it felt to me like it was just the person who created the game was trying to tell me they hated me for some reason. It was like, I'm just trying to play your game, you know what I mean?
I don't think...
Well, I wouldn't...
Well,
it felt antagonistic sometimes.
That's the thing. To the degree to which Lisa the Painful is antagonistic to the player, Lisa the First is much more so, to the point where like I am not necessarily really cool with that. Farm, have you ever played No More Heroes?
No, but
have you?
Well, it's on Steam. I will.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I thought when you said that they were making No More Heroes 3, and that was like one of the good announcements from E3, I thought you were like making a joke.
That is not an announcement from E3, but that is a thing that's happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what was it? I mean, I don't know. You were saying it was coming out this year, something like that.
Yeah, it comes out in August. I'm pretty stoked for it. I think all those games are pretty good. The developer has a very good sense of humor. Actually, not all those games. Apparently, the second game sucks, and I have not played it. But yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't really know. I did want to say, on the point of like Lisa's gameplay, I think like this is the rare game where, like, wise and tasteful people will be surprised. There are very few surprises in video games, really ever. And I think that most learned people will understand that turn-based games are boring.
Mm-hmm.
But Lisa is the exception. I don't know how else to say it.
What I really appreciate about Lisa is the way that they kind of give a lot of your actions weight. So the two things that I think of in particular are the usage of joy, and then also just like the way your party members are disposable or not disposable.
And the disposability of party members. Also, the items. You know, the fact that resources are actually scarce is so important.
The first time I played, I'm pretty sure I accidentally enabled painful mode. So my save points exploded after I saved at them.
Oh.
And that
that's
sucks,
also, by the way, that's like a very good take on New Game Plus that I really like.
Just like not being able to save state, essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's not bad. No, I mean, what I think is really good about Lisa's gameplay, yeah, like I said, also with the joy, it's like the player does kind of have an incentive to use the joy, right? Because it makes the game easier. It makes you stronger, I think, or takes away your mana drain or whatever. But you are also incentivized not to do that because you know that the character is like addicted to it and it'll make a worse outcome. And you aren't really necessarily rewarded for it all that much, but you sort of are.
Sort of.
Yeah, I kind of like that as a usage of gameplay mechanic.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, like many things in turn-based gameplay, it matters because it's not trivially easy. You know, it's not a game where you can just press attack over and over and over again. And it's not a game where you can just get to a high enough level easily that, you know, you don't have to think about battles anymore.
Is that true?
That is true, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you can't grind, really. I mean, you kind of can if you get the right party composition. If you have, like two battery people who can just keep healing and restoring mana or whatever. There is, like, one part where you can just fight spiders over and over if you really want to, but...
That's, like, very late in the game, though.
Yeah, you can't really grind.
Mm.
Yeah, every fight will make you weaker in some way.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. So there's kind of a survival aspect that it adopts that becomes nice. And again,
it's very stressful.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Did you ever sleep outside and lose a party member or get attacked by spiders?
Yeah, I lost Terry Hintz that way. He was kidnapped and I didn't know to go search for him.
Poor Terry.
You fucked up.
I definitely got Terry all the way to the end one time. When he learned his, like, crazy attack.
Oh, that's, like, not even, like, worth doing.
Wow, I mean, okay, I guess maybe if you don't care about your, companions and teammates, I do.
I think
personally.
Terry Hintz is, like, the only good person in that entire game. Like, everyone else just sucks, but Terry Hintz is, like, he's a homie, for sure.
Do you think this is like Final Fantasy, where like the point of the game is to get your characters up to level 50 so they can learn their ultra special finisher?
Yes. I thought isn't Rambo? Is that his name? I don't know. The character whose face got all messed up by Buzzsaw. I thought that guy's a good guy.
Buzzo. No, he's not a good guy.
No.
No, I mean you can kind of tell, like.
No,
from
not
the game.
not Buzzo. The guy whose face Buzzo messed up. Lord Rando or whatever.
That was Buzzo? I thought that was you.
It was Brad. Maybe it was Brad.
Rando, yeah.
Yeah.
Rando's a good guy.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with Rando, is that Rando's supposed to be like a soy boy. Right. Like
so
Rando.
again, for our listeners, who is Rando?
Oh, right.
Give me
Sorry.
some background.
Okay, so it's the nuclear wasteland, right? There are no governments. There are no societies. And Rando is like a warlord. He's like the most powerful warlord. He's basically kind of holding the social order together temporarily. And the trick with Rando is that he's actually kind of a good guy. He's interested in rebuilding society, and he cares about being fair to people and so on. You don't really see too much of him, but he's sort of a nice guy. and he tries to prevent people from using joy and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the game, you kill Rando, and you destroy his army, and you kill your daughter.
It's one of those things that like you can kind of maybe get mixed up on because the game does sort of present him as a good guy, or as a bad guy, but that's in part because Brad is so psychotic and evil, which again, Farm, I think you reacted poorly to.
The other twist is that Brad was like a martial arts teacher, and Rando was like his student, who was kind of a wuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like Rando is like a more feminine character, right?
Yeah, kind of.
And then the other thing too is that Brad's sister Lisa killed herself and like haunts Brad, which I don't think is really communicated that well in the game proper, honestly. And kind of
it's not at all. Oh. Yeah, it's sort of like you're expected to play Lisa the First, maybe.
Which I would not recommend playing Lisa the First.
Yeah.
Especially if you're sensitive to any kind of that stuff, but yeah. I don't know, maybe if you're down to just lose your mind, I would say drop some acid and play that game, but pretty much under any other circumstance, I would say don't do that. Would you like to maybe move on to some listener email?
No, so I have one more question first.
Sure.
So at the end, when you can have Buddy hug Brad or not, what did you guys pick?
I
don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either, if I'm being honest.
I feel like that was such an important moment.
What did you do?
I said no, because like there's no way, right? There's no way Buddy would do it. It didn't make sense.
Because Brad is a horrible, disgusting monster.
Yeah, she hates him, right?
Yeah, I would say yes.
That seems pretty fair.
Funny. Okay, so I'm going to do this without getting spoilery, but that other thing that we've talked about, Farm, in that game, one of the things that bugs me is that I think that they should not forgive him and that they should hate him. But, we need not get into that.
What are you guys talking about here?
Nothing.
Something else.
Yeah.
I've
said too much already.
It's probably Amori.
It could be.
Right.
But
actually, that's really interesting, though, because... So I don't even remember this moment from the game. But it's another one of these points where the game sort of reminds you that you get to choose in video games whether you consider yourself to be a good person.
What do you mean by that?
That the game essentially allows you to validate yourself.
Yeah. I think... I don't know, because I feel like the story is weaker if Buddy, forgives him.
No, I agree.
Well,
so,
I mean...
I wonder why that choice is
But what I'm saying
there.
is you're playing as main character, right?
Yep.
In video game. And you play as main character for 20 hours. And then finally at the end, you get to the end. And you save the princess. And the princess is like, oh, thank you, you hero. Mm-hmm. I'm saying in this, the game is making it explicit that you are controlling the princess. You are the person who decides whether you succeeded.
I think maybe I suppose that could maybe be just to dab on people who are stupid and don't get it. Like, people who say yes, hug them, are just like, that way Dingling can look at metrics afterwards and just be like, oh, okay, all these people are stupid. I'm going to never release Ninja Tears, and
I maybe believe that a little bit more, because, yeah.
I choose to believe it's intentional.
Yeah. That moment just stuck with me, because it felt like...
I mean, I think you'd agree, I don't even remember it, so, I'm hearing about it now and thinking, how weird that is.
I mean, I do kind of think it was so that you could withhold that from Brad, because he doesn't deserve it, right?
It's like you spend the entire game chasing after this trophy.
Yeah.
And then in the last 5 minutes, you, as the trophy, get to decide whether you will let your own character succeed.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's a good way of putting it.
All right, listener email?
Yeah, all right. So that was the least talk. So we got one piece of listener mail this week, so thank you. Remember to send in your listener mail to lastvideogamepodcast@gmail.com, and I can guarantee it will be featured on the next episode, 100%. This one comes in from a longtime listener, perhaps one of our top 50 fans.
Easily.
Galosh.
Oh. Ooh.
Galosh is how it's signed. He has, or
Yeah.
I guess I should say, they have their first
A big name
in
in the LVGP industry.
Oh, huge name. So I'll just go ahead and and read this email. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Galosh. So I've been a huge fan of the Last Video Game Podcast since even prior to listening to any episode. Now that I have catched up, I am still a huge fan, unexpectedly.
Whoa.
Here's my gamer question. If you had unlimited budget to make any video game, what would be your dream video game? I'm not only asking which genre of game, but what's your dream game all about?
Oh.
Also, is there a Patreon where we can throw y'all a bunch of money? I guess your producer has the pockets empty because his mic sounds like a raccoon in a coffee blender. Peace out and keep gaming safely, Galosh.
That's a good question, Galosh. Our Patreon is located at patreon.com/VGB. Please do remember that tipping.
Hold on, please. So,
tipping
the
is
Patreon
customary
link
on the
is
Patreon.
Available to $5 and up Patreon subs.
Yep.
Please don't share it to people.
Well,
who
it's
have not
I mean,
subscribed to
so
the Patreon.
it's a password protected link. You can't just go there.
No, you can't.
Even know the
No,
URL.
you have to be a sub. Yes.
You have to
Yeah,
get
so
the very.
Please
Yeah.
hit that sub
Yeah,
button.
if you
We're
want the
trying
link to
go
the Patreon, you
sub-hype.
have to subscribe.
You get those sweet emotes for the Patreon chat. Yeah, no, please do that. Dream video game is an interesting question. It's really hard to say, right? So I think the easy answer that I kind of jump to is Kirby's Air Ride 2. Or, Kirby Air Ride Infinity. Maybe some kind of actually good, quote-unquote, MMO built out of the Kirby Air Ride world. Something like that, probably.
A Kirby Air Ride MMO?
Yeah, I mean that's just the first, because just a sequel to Kirby Air Ride, that would not be. If I have unlimited budget, I should make sure to use as much money as possible.
Okay, so what does Kirby Air Ride gain from becoming an MMO?
It's kind of more in-depth cart customization. It really starts to matter how you build your cart, what kind of upgrades you go for.
Okay.
Have you never played F-Zero and been like, I wish this was a RPG, actually?
No, but that sounds like Burnout Paradise.
That's a thing?
Except an MMO.
Interesting. Now, Burnout Paradise is not an MMO.
No, it's not. But,
Well, he's saying if it accept.
Right. So here's the thing.
Accepting.
I don't think there has ever been a good MMO.
No, there hasn't.
Right?
No, I can't think of any.
I don't think that's even possible.
It's not.
No, I mean, just apparently Star
I like how
Wars
Chris
Galaxies
joined
is
right
supposed
as
to
he
be
said
good.
that.
Oh, yes.
Who?
The
intern.
Yeah, the intern finally fucking showed up. God.
Yeah. That's goddamn
You
time.
know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, all MMOs are shit.
They're
and
just
fucking
awful. Anyone who plays
Yeah.
an MMO and enjoys it is just poop for brains, a dumb insect.
Well, they've all been doomed by WoW. I mean, WoW. Have you guys actually tried to play an MMO? They all feel so awful to play.
I have played RuneScape in middle school. I also played some Adventure Quest, and we should get our previous week's guest, Wub, or Smack, or Aaron, depending on how you like to call him. Not this week's guest, but last week's guest. He would love to talk about Adventure Quest, which is another MMO that I played. Although I never became a member in RuneScape, I was a member, paid or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like MMOs are just checklist games, like your Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, just without the fun gameplay. Which what else do you have at that point?
I honestly did not realize Far Cry or Assassin's Creed had fun gameplay.
They might not. Yeah, I haven't played one in like 10 years.
I really have never played one. They just seem kind of boring. I don't know, basic.
Yeah. The only MMO I ever played was Spiral Knights. I don't know if you even heard of that.
Oh, shit.
It was pretty bad.
That's very funny. I have played some Spiral Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I don't really recall what the gameplay was like at all. I played like in high school with some buddies. I mean, the thing about MMOs are that it really is just a social experience, and it's just the experience of like doing stuff with other people, which
yeah,
it's much more like you can get that in a somewhere a more healthy and productive environment, like a Super Smash Bros. Melee tournament.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
we're playing League of Legends for 8 years.
I mean, I would not ever say you should play League of Legends. That's disgusting and frankly upsetting. Damn, that's really... I don't know what I would do.
Auntie, what's your dream video game? What would it be? Describe it.
Silk Song. Probably. That's what I'd have to go with.
Uh-huh.
So you would pay whatever $17 billion so that they can continue developing Silk Song?
Yeah, a literal blank check.
So you really like Hollow Knight that much?
I do think it is the best game.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I feel like
good.
The trouble here is, right, like, most games that have been made to date that were any good at all had zero budget. And
yeah.
Then, the majority of games that got billions of dollars in funding, or even just hundreds of millions, have all sucked.
Yes, that's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there are structural reasons for that, but what I'm trying to get at is we don't really know what a good, well-funded game even looks like.
Well, but so obviously that's true that when you start throwing enough money at something, you kind of get diminishing returns. But if we're truly talking about an infinite or, money source, you could just throw more money at the problem of inefficiency, and then you just,
Yeah,
it doesn't
no,
really
I'm
matter.
not saying. Look, I'm not saying it would fail. I'm just saying that's a big leap of the imagination.
Okay, look at, for instance, Tim Schafer. He got $3.3 million for a $20,000 Kickstarter, and everyone loved the result.
Who's Tim Schafer?
Double Fine Games? Come on, you can't...
Oh, yeah, everyone likes that.
Come on, Jesus, dude.
Which game are you referring to?
I think Broken Age. There was one. There was some Double Fine game that everybody hated and got way too much funding, and as a result, I think it ended up.
I thought Broken Age was supposed to be really good.
Possible. I don't really like Tim Schafer games at all. I tried playing Psychonauts the other day, and I was just I was like, this is Psychonaut for me. Am I right? I was like, I downloaded it, and then I was like, psych.
It's been aged super well. I played it a couple of years back too, and it's clunky in a lot of areas.
Yeah, and I was looking at it on my CRT monitor with a knockoff PS3 controller, and I was like, this is old and looks bad.
So it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go back to the high budget games can't be good thing.
Yes.
I'm not saying they can't be good. I'm just saying we don't know.
Okay, like Anti was just saying, if a game has a high budget, it'll be bad. But Farm, what were you saying?
Well, he doesn't know. So I would like a counterpoint. Death Stranding, right? That game clearly has a high budget, and it's amazing.
Well, I actually didn't... Is Death Stranding really good?
Yes, it is. Actually, it's on sale, half off, I think, for $30 right now. So I'm just saying, anybody listening, definitely pick that up. It's a spectacular game. The thing is...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Farm.
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you just have to, going into Death Stranding, I think you have to be aware that, a lot of it is a lot of really stupid bullshit, and if you're not along for that, you have to sign yourself up for it.
What you have to understand is
that
Sam Porter Bridges also kind of thinks that a lot of it is annoying bullshit.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really care about most of it. So when you feel like, what the hell is this person talking about? I really don't care. The thing to remember is your character's kind of thinking that too.
Yeah, and you don't really have to pay attention to them. You can if you want. It's fun. It's like fun to talk about and try to figure out what's going on. But
there's a bunch of good words like chiral flow and timefall and.
I like repatriate. That's a good one.
Yeah, repatriate. Dooms syndrome.
Yeah. Dooms is good. Yeah, a lot of good words.
It's wonderful, honestly. Yeah, so I mean, it's weird. Like Hollow Knight has all of these elements that I ostensibly love. Like the movement, obviously, is like buttery. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. The art is theoretically great. It's hand drawn. It looks really nice.
I'm not in love with the art style. I don't like the whole bug stuff. Doesn't do it.
That's why I said theoretically, because as I said, that I realized there are some issues that I have with it. But like, I like the idea of having the lore be kind of subtle, and like you said, I think the map system is maybe good. But I don't know. It just nothing really comes together for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the parts are less than the sum.
For me, it's the problem is it's kind of hollow, right?
All right, so that's where we're gonna end today's episode.
Wait, I did have some more stuff to say though.
Yeah, no, I was joking.
Okay. Well, I would have been. I mean, look, I feel like once you start breaking out with the Hollow Knight bad taste, it's really kind of impossible to take anything thereafter seriously. I don't think.
No one's saying it's bad.
I'm being completely genuine here. I think that if anyone says that Hollow Knight is a dull game,
did I say that it was dull?
I mean, it's good. It's good.
In not so many words. It's very hard to take them seriously.
What I'm saying is that there are a lot of elements in it that I recognize to be good, and that as I consciously think about them, I'm like, oh, these are well done or whatever. But that it's lacking something that makes me just like not into it on the whole.
Yeah, I think you should just play it again, because you never actually got around to doing that.
I sort of did.
I would have no desire to replay that game. It's good. It's a good game.
I believe I redeemed a key for it, and I played it recently, and I was just like, no, okay, I was correct. I don't actually want to replay this. Sort of related, I was trying to get my girlfriend to play Outer Wilds, and I accidentally reset my save file, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to get her to play it, so I might just have to replay the whole thing.
What a bummer. Anthony, have you played Outer Wilds?
I haven't. Everyone is saying that this is like the shit.
Outer Wilds. It is. It literally, if you DM Silver and you're like, hey, I'll play Outer Wild. Oh, actually, wait. Sorry, we shouldn't blow this up on the pod.
Yeah. It's like
no, I already bought it anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely play that right now. Like, it is spectacular. Probably best game in the past couple of years outside of Death Stranding.
Until the Warhammer 2.
What the hell's Total War Warhammer 2?
And Civ 5.
Civ 5.
Civ 5.
To answer the unlimited budget though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I wish I could say like I had some specific and definitive vision that changes people's understanding of video games. And unfortunately, I feel like all of the stuff that I had ideas for has already been done. But
I personally, what I would do is make the first Strand game.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going, Anthony.
The easy answer is I would make a good open world game.
It's impossible. No one has ever done that before.
Well, I think that money basically is the problem. Truthfully, I think that the problem is, one, you're paying like 40 people to do 80 people's work in half the time, right?
Actually,
that's part of the problem.
Auntie, I will accept your take on that actually after you have played Death Stranding. Death Stranding is up there with Breath of the Wild for me, and Mercenaries 2: World in Flames as video games that have actually good open worlds. Because, I think what you're identifying, or what you're pointing to at least, is this issue that video games have where it kind of feels like everything is waiting. Like you're just kind of waiting to get to the actual gameplay, but the actual gameplay never really exists. And so what's beautiful about Death Stranding is that like every step that you take is the gameplay.
Okay. I mean, But doesn't Death Stranding kind of cheat the problem by like not having any dialogue really, or any other people besides you?
It has plenty of dialogue. It also has other people besides you, but it is a particularly lonely experience, and a lonely experience that I think is Kojima actually went on record as predicting coronavirus and the quarantine through it, which I think he sort of did. I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. The Death Stranding is people being isolated because, like, if you get too close to someone, bad stuff might happen if they die or whatever, right? So
I thought it was like you get rained on.
Well, it's like like going outside is very bad. It's very dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous.
So everyone is just like holed up all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of cheating because, like, one of the problems that like every open world game to date has had is bad writing. And so then to make a game where basically there are no other characters and say like, oh, look at this, we made a good open world. Shut up.
There are characters in Death Stranding.
We made a. Okay, I don't believe you.
No, there literally are like
there are.
There's a woman who has a baby that she didn't give birth to because it died.
If he's gonna play, I don't think we should get into.
There's Princess Beach, right?
No,
there's a lot of.
There's one pun about that. Guillermo del Toro. How the fuck do you say his name?
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo, there we go. Yeah, del Toro. He's in the game.
Yeah,
definitely is. He actually, I kind of do like him towards the end. He's terrifying at first.
He's charming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. By the end.
Yeah.
At first, he's horrifying, I think, and very much violates a lot of your sense of space, and you kind of are uncomfortable around him.
Yeah, he does get too close to you.
There's a thing that's set up early on about how your player character doesn't like it when people touch him or are close to him, and like half of the cutscenes are people touching him and being close to him, and it's so weird.
Yeah, he's just uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah. But the weirdness is something that I kind of appreciate. I think that's something that shows up both in Lisa and Dark Souls. But what's odd for me is when that kind of quality of weirdness just falls completely flat, which happens for me in Hollow Knight, but it also happens for me in Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls, what did you just say, Dark Souls or Dark Souls 2?
Dark Souls 2.
Okay, yeah, you kind of cut out with the 2 there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just want to, like, reinforce this point, right? Like, I don't think that Death Stranding has, like, an actual, like, social world. I think that's, like, kind of the point. Is that, like, it's your job to kind of put things back together.
There actually is a very interesting point of that you are reaching to, and I tried to pay attention to it while playing the game, because it is very much... There's an element to it that I think is like you are isolated the whole time that I think is really interesting, but I'm not exactly sure where it went.
Well, it's very lonely, but you're not necessarily ever like alone in Death Stranding, just because you have the remnants of what the players who came there before you put down.
You also have your cell phone handcuff.
Yes, your cell phone handcuffs, and you have BB too, who keeps you company.
Yeah, BB.
It's very lonely, but you're never alone.
Yes.
Even at the expense of like diminishing Hollow Knight, I think it's pretty easy at this point to make a lonely game.
Honestly, you say that, but like the games that have the quality of being lonely, I think, are few and far between when executed well, I guess. Although maybe that's kind of a vacuous statement, but like I think of the Super Metroid as feeling particularly lonely. I don't think Metroid Prime really has that same loneliness to it.
Yeah, I guess
Colossus too.
I wouldn't know about that, but however difficult it may be to really create a satisfying and realistic feeling of loneliness in the player, it's 1,000 times harder at least to make the player feel like they're interacting with other actual humans.
Yeah, I suppose that's that Turing test or whatever. Interestingly, I think Crosscode does a decent job at simulating being in a MMO world.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I got far enough in crosscode to...
Oh, yeah, you were not a fan of crosscode, were you?
Yeah, I think I was, like, exploring
Good point, Chris,
place.
good point. Chris just
like,
pointed out that... Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'll read it. Well, no, Chris Crosscode was fun. Yeah, so that's the thing, right, is I was, like, exploring this place in crosscode outside, and I was just, like, hitting dudes, and I was like, oh, I think this is it. Like, I think that's... I don't want to do this anymore.
I think one thing about the game is that it definitely has really great dungeons, but another thing about the game is that it's made me realize I don't particularly care for dungeons all that much.
Yeah.
Not that into these puzzles where you have to do all this stuff. It's too much work, and I'm not that smart.
Yeah, I think that the combat should be the real puzzle.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, even then, like, part of what I don't like about later Dark Souls games is that the first Dark Souls game had... I don't necessarily think it had difficult combat, although I won't die on that hill, like, whatever, it's hard. But
combat was a puzzle.
The combat was the puzzle, but it had a point, right? Putting the pieces together and solving it felt good, and it ended up with a really nice resolution. I think a lot of games don't actually pull that off. I don't think Dark Souls 2 really pulled that off in any meaningful way. I do think Crosscode did, though, but yeah, I can see why somebody might not.
Yeah, well, Dark Souls... I mean, I agree with you. Dark Souls 2, which I just sort of finished playing... really, the combat is not a puzzle at all.
How did you feel about the Shrine of Amana?
I didn't really think it was that bad. I actually felt that it was kind of interesting. It was very much a Dark Souls 1 kind of area.
Interesting. Okay. I honestly, I don't really remember very much of that game, and that's just one of the main areas that I remember, because it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying, but, like, you know, Dark Souls 1 is annoying.
I just remember I got to a certain point in Dark Souls... Actually, no, I got to several points in Dark Souls 2 where I was just like, what do I do now? And it wasn't like I was paying no attention whatsoever. Like, I would watch cutscenes and read dialogue. It just... None of the pieces seemed to fit together in any meaningful way. And, you know, what's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing's super disjointive.
I think that, yeah, I mean, Dark Souls 2 has, I guess, a bit more of a cinematic quality to it, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing. You know, it seems like it's really about the set pieces.
Well, I kind of wish they went more for that, right? Because a lot of Dark Souls 2 feels like you're in this, like, weird dream world, and I wish they just, like, went for it more. Like, make it weirder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would love a weird feeling Dark Souls. I feel like we'd have on that.
I don't know. I mean, I sort of feel like, you know, one of the biggest weaknesses of Dark Souls 2 is that really, like, none of the areas connected to any sort of meaningful story except for, you know, Dranglake Castle and Aldia's Keep.
Right. Those two names are just... What is it? They're like Teflon. Like, they just bump off of my brain, and they just do not permeate in any meaningful sense. Like,
I have no idea what you just said.
If you tell me that Dranglake Castle was in both 1, 2, and 3, I would believe you. I have no idea, dude. It's like... Dranglake Castle is where Draco, or what is his name? What is it? Lance from the Pokemon League lives, you know? Like, I don't know, man. That stuff is...
Oh, that's a castle. Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Okay.
This is a place in Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, the most effective quality of Dark Souls 1 was feeling like an actual place that you were just stumbling around in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But you could learn it too. Like, you could learn to navigate that place. Which
yeah,
is the coolest part.
And to that end, almost every area had some kind of relevance to the story of what had happened before you showed up. Mm-hmm. And I don't really see that with Dark Souls 2. There are a lot of areas that are just sort of like freely standing, you know, disjointed, just sort of showpieces, right? They're just exhibitions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Iron Keep is an exhibition.
My like overall
Shrine of Mana is an exhibition.
Impression of these sequels is just that like they just change some stuff from Dark Souls 1 and call it a day, which I don't think works very well in the end.
Yeah, I don't think they really got it. Like, I don't think they understood why people like Dark Souls 1 so much.
Right.
Well, actually, I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I think that the fundamental combat mechanics of Dark Souls 2 are a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if I agree with that because the life gem stuff. I mean, it
yeah,
the whole combat.
Well,
system.
so I don't. This is sort of my own bias and experience coming in here because when I say fundamental, really what I mean is stuff that I play, and I never used life gems.
Okay.
And now I'm getting into PvP, and the PvP is pretty fun. It's a lot better than Dark Souls 1 PvP, and you can't heal in PvP, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The game doesn't let you, or it's just frowned upon.
No, the game doesn't let you.
Okay.
Which is another big improvement over Dark Souls 1.
Mm-hmm.
Once you strip the game down to just the actual like player-controlled combat mechanics, the game is pretty interesting.
So this is one thing that I am always struck by with sequels. Like, why not just make that a DLC pack, right?
It won't make as much money for them.
Yeah, that's kind of a cop-out excuse.
I mean, also there are pretty strong mechanical changes between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. If we're going to stick on that example.
Sure, but I mean, isn't that just like a mod?
Like, there's more bonfires. It looks different.
I've made this joke famously in a lot of places. Project M is just a Brawl mod, right? So you're just playing Brawl. So Dark Souls 2, to the degree that it is different, is sort of just a mod of Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel you have to talk to a developer.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's just computer guy questions that we could
yeah.
necessarily.
I don't think it's that simple.
Well, I think there's a certain irony to it, right? Because Dark Souls 1 has a world that actually feels worth exploring and learning about, and it has single-player combat that you actually have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those things stand in contrast to Dark Souls 2.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you actually take the combat to its logical conclusion by developing a PvP meta, Dark Souls 1 is fucking awful. It's unplayable. No one in their right mind would ever say that Dark Souls 1 PvP is in any way stimulating or fun or
well, hold on.
even forces the player to reckon with how they're thinking about the game.
Well, it depends on what you mean by Dark Souls 1 PvP. I think that the sense that there are player versus player systems in Dark Souls 1 that interact with the player's game experience, I think those are great. I think those work really well.
I think Anthony's talking about just the actual fighting.
Yeah, if it's trying to fight another player, yeah, that's probably not great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I understand if you talk about the contexts that initiate PvP and the story behind them, yeah, Dark Souls 1 is great. They did a good job with that. But I don't, the actual PvP is what I'm talking about here. And, the opposite is true of Dark Souls 2. The world is kind of boring. The single-player combat is about as good as Dark Souls 1, but you're repeating it after having played Dark Souls 1, so it loses any force of novelty. It's really not, there are very few truly challenging fights even, where changing your approach or thinking about using a different move is really meaningful in any way.
So maybe this is a dumb take, but I mean, one thing that has always turned me off from Dark Souls is that you can't do LAN PvP, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
obviously it's not that big of a deal, but I do not like the idea of getting screwed over by lag.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, that's a fair point, and there should be LAN Dark Souls. I agree with that. But if you look at Dark Souls 2 PvP, it's actually pretty fascinating. And unlike Dark Souls 1, there are a lot of different play styles that you can use, and it's adaptive and responsive instead of just, going for the same cheese over and over again, hoping that your opponent doesn't know the lag counterattack.
That sounds a lot like the transition from like Smash 64 to Melee, right? Where it's like everyone played Smash 64 and loved it, great casual game. And then I guess Melee is that as well, but also in trying to change the game and like update it, they accidentally added some mechanics that made it like more complex for the competitive players, but it was never intentional, right? It wasn't. So going from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2, I get the feeling it wasn't the developer's intention to make a better PvP game. I think the PvP is like secondary or like tertiary to the main story and the single player experience, right? So it was never really intentional for them to make a better PvP game. And I think they probably failed the thing they actually meant to do. So it's sort of this like weird happy accident, right?
I don't think it's happy. No, I think
it
it's
really
just a
gets.
bad game. That's just me, though.
I mean, maybe, but this is where it gets really fascinating because the Sakurai of Dark Souls, Miyazaki, famously, didn't really work on Dark Souls 2, and Miyazaki's gone on the record saying that, basically the PvP combat is unimportant to him.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I sort of feel that way.
And
like
so then the sort of the HAL team of Dark Souls, the quote unquote B team.
Did you say HAL?
Made a game, HAL, like HAL Laboratory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Made a game with robust PvP.
Yeah.
How about
actually a very
Hal's
similar story
moving
to
castle, and it's like the dog with eggs, but it's also a giant wizard castle thing.
What?
Are those eggs under the dog?
Yeah.
Really?
I believe so.
It's kind of disgusting.
Have you ever seen Howl's Moving Castle Farm?
Is that like an anime?
It is a Miyazaki movie. It's made by the guy who makes Dark Souls.
Sounds like an anime.
Yeah, it's technically, yes,
no, it's
Japanese animation.
Not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not anime.
Well, it sounds like an anime.
Here, let me. I'll pull up the main character. Patrons will be able to see this, but you guys should keep talking about whatever dumb stuff you were saying before.
Oh yeah, you'll be able to see this along with our faces on the $700 tier and up.
Yes.
The other thing about Dark Souls 2 that's interesting is that the first Dark Souls has sort of what's the word? A sort of neoclassical feel to it, right? It's about the Greeks and the Romans, architecturally and also kind of politically.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but Dark Souls 2, it is. Just take my word for
it. Sorry, I was trying to. I didn't want to. Yeah.
I mean, look. Can we at least agree that the architecture is neoclassical?
I don't know.
There's some Gothic stuff going on there. It's overall it's very French.
Here's the thing: architecture is bullshit. What you need a wall, you need windows, a door. We all know that. We know how it works. Like I don't.
Anyway, the thing with Dark Souls 2, right, is that instead of being Mediterranean, it's Nordic. And that I think that throws an interesting wrench in things.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to go with the Nordic stuff, again, it gives you another avenue for, like, weirdness. You can explore that more, and I feel like they did, and that makes me sad.
That's true.
Yeah. Overall, I'd say not very good. No recommendation.
It's alright.
I don't know. I think there were, like, it still has all of the advantages of being a Dark Souls game.
Yeah.
You could say that, for sure.
Honestly, though, that's the thing. Like, the Dark Souls 1 was more than the sum of its parts, and I don't think its constituent parts are all that great when broken down.
The combat's good. The combat's always going to be good. Like, they nailed it.
Yeah, I think, like, combat, character customization,
Yeah, Fashion Souls is great.
Fashion.
Dress up.
Fashion.
I got
the way
banned from a
works.
Dark Souls 2 Discord server, actually, over Fashion Souls. That was a fun time. Yeah.
Do we want to know?
I mean, it was just like somebody... I was talking about the armor that I was wearing. Somebody was like, that armor's bad. And then I said something... I don't actually even remember what happened. But it was I was in the right. That's all I'll say.
That's usual.
Yeah, I actually... For the $300 patrons, Chris, if you could just make it so only the $300 patrons can access this. I had some really good screenshots of my Dark Souls 2 character. I do think the fashion in that game is the best in any of the Souls games.
Interesting. Did you play as a man or a woman?
Man.
Okay.
I'm not into that creepy shit.
I just was, again, this is for the, very wealthy guys, so they want to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, our highest tier patrons need to know. If so anyway, I guess I should answer the question now.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we do have some listener mail.
Well, no, I want to answer Galosha's question.
Galosha's question?
Yeah, the initial one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this. All right. So you take Total War Warhammer 2, right?
I don't know what that is.
It's like grand strategy game with these crazy battles with like these fantasy things from Warhammer. Right, but you give yourself, okay? You give yourself the ability to like control a character on the battlefield and like actually be in there in the front lines and stuff.
Sure.
And it would have the combat would be good and it wouldn't be bad.
So can I cut you off?
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off too much, but is the idea for this? It would be like you could play as a soldier on the ground, but then also you could play the strategy game, and then it would be recursive like all the way up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that audible?
Both. No.
I just sneezed. Okay, cool.
Didn't PlanetSide do that? I think some game has tried to do that one time.
Yeah, there was a Wii game that did it, and I've been trying to remember what it's called. I want to say it's like Battalion Wars. That might be it. I'm gonna check. Battalion Wars on the Wii did that, and that was pretty dope. But yeah, so also there's this part of like Warhammer lore where it's like if you like succeed on the battlefield or whatever, like sufficiently enough, then I might be getting this wrong, but my impression is
we have really passionate Warhammer fans, so please just continue at your own peril.
Send in your corrections if you are a big Warhammer fan. But like the gods start to smile upon you and like give you these boons and make you more powerful. So you could also have like a progression system where like maybe you're just one guy or something, and you can like see yourself progress and grow more powerful, eventually becoming like your own warlord or whatever. And alongside that, I would also throw in like a nemesis system. So like let's say you're defeated, and then like then now you're rivals with this person, and the gods will smile upon you if you kill them in a battle grand strategy thing.
To clarify, would you also be using your unlimited resources to ensure that this game too would be on the Wii?
Yes, absolutely. This needs to be ported to the Wii. I think that's a huge market right now. It's untapped for grand strategy games.
I do think it's a shame most of the time when games don't come out on Wii. I'd say that's my main console, and it's I'm always looking for more stuff to come out on there. So
that's the biggest issue with Hollow Knight is there was no
there's no Wii port. Yeah, and honestly, another thing is there's no way to get the game to display properly in 4:3. I mean, it's one thing to just not support classic monitors, but to not display properly. Come on.
Yeah, well, I think if you had unlimited resources, you could not only like make the Wii compliant with any aspect ratio, you could drastically increase the resolution.
Yeah, I mean, that's something resources. You can just upgrade everyone's Wii to like a gaming PC from whatever year.
Well, but it would still be like the size and shape and color of a Wii, though.
Yeah, of course.
And that's something that I think that Nintendo has neglected.
The size and shape and color of the Wii?
So, we're going to move on.
All right.
to our next segment. The backlogged review of the week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you have anything picked out?
I do have one picked out. This one made its way on the boards.
Oh, wait. We missed listener mail. Sorry.
Oh,
we missed some listener mail.
Oh, yeah, so we actually got this this other piece of listener mail from
Anonymous.
Anonymous in the chat room, because again we do this live and people $2,000 and up can listen in. So
otherwise you have to submit 5 weeks in advance. Otherwise,
if you've donated to the $15,000 and up tier, you get access to the live Patreon chat. This question was asked just in emotes because again they only donated to the $500 tier.
Right? Yeah, you don't get the option to actually type anything until you get to that.
Yes, and so you can interpret. Please,
the chat is
English,
always
you don't
in
have to
sub
explain
mode
the
during the
emotes.
live stream.
Yeah.
So anyway, to the question is coming in from anonymous listener mail. Grothel sex ? So Grothel, I think is sort of like this new hot teen sensation. He has his own month, Grothel-sember. Kids love him. The teens
He has a
love
month?
him. Yeah, Grothel-sember.
And what month is it?
That's Grothel-sember. So, I think Grothel fucks for sure. For sure.
Oh, is that the question? I thought it was asking whether or not we would. I personally would not. No.
No. I mean, I'm not like a Pokemon, but I mean, Grothel himself, like Grothel fucks.
Also, I'm just going to make a statement here. I'm not sure what the intern is doing, but if they're, asking distracting questions while, people are trying to, run a podcast, maybe get back to work.
Yeah, so
that's a good point. I actually, I guess this kind of shows my age. And I am the oldest person on the podcast right now.
Not true.
But, I actually don't really know what Grothel is. I've heard a little bit about it through Twitter, or who he is, or she.
Right, you've seen it on MySpace.
Well, okay, let's not be insulting. I'm doing my best. And, yeah, I only have, like, a passing knowledge of Grothel myself. I kind of think that this question is asking, like, conceptually, is it possible?
All right, so I'm going to,
which
maybe
is very
pivot
interesting.
This into a different question. You're saying that you don't have any familiarity with Grothel. Could that be the reason why I swept you in Generation 5 Pokemon Random Battles that one time?
Grothel isn't a Pokemon. What are you talking about?
I believe Grothel is a Pokemon.
You're being retarded.
Let me... Yeah. Whoa, hey! You're not trying to drop hard
That's the second one. That's the second one we've had.
Come on, brother.
It's the second one?
Yeah.
I thought I only... Did I say it before?
No, Midnight. Midnight did it on the first episode, within like the first 10 minutes.
Rough.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
A quick Google would suggest that Grothel is, in fact, a Pokemon. So I think we're going to take that and move forward with it.
No. There are 151 Pokemon.
All right, so final question, Anti. Is Hack's money right?
Ooh. I knew you people were just trying to get me on here so you could farm me for big drama.
Do you even keep up with the Melee? Like you play anymore?
I don't play anymore.
Yeah.
I know about the Hack's money stuff though.
How much do you know about it?
I mean, I know a good amount. Like I've been on the subreddit and I watched like almost 2 hours of the video.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
That video was so insane.
Are you doing all right? Is this a cry for help?
I've actually noticed a significant amount more fear on my gang stalker's face, and I think they're starting to realize that I'm turning the tables.
You're gonna start gang stalking them, right? Turn around.
I think that would be the game to fund, really, is a gang stalking MMO.
Oh yeah. But it doesn't tell you which side you're on.
Well, you can do that in Second Life, can't you? Like, you could definitely gang stalk someone in Second Life. Absolutely, you could.
Honestly, I have never played Second Life. I really don't know what that game is like.
Me neither, but I imagine, but as our intern is saying, MMOs are prime gang stalking.
Honestly, the best gang stalking experience that you can get out of an MMO was on worldsonline.com. And just like wandering through there and talking to the weird people that you would interact with, but I think that's shut down now. So
yeah, and then it's like the gang stalkers. It's like their ultimate goal is to finally, imprison you and taste of your succulent genitals.
So moving on to the backlog review of the week.
Yeah, backlog review of the week.
Targeted individuals. This is what they suffer from.
Yeah. And please don't wear Adidas clothing next time you come on. This review comes in from...
Wait, weren't you going to ask my opinion about hacks, though?
I think we did.
Where does this review come in from? Right.
This review comes in from user Fetchwag. This is a review of Disco Elysium, the final cut. You guys might have seen this one around. I'll just read it aloud here. You all lied to me. I heard that this was a detective story about solving a mystery. What I was not told was that people consider endless purple prose about the history of a steampunk D&D campaign to be the pinnacle of storytelling. 2 stars out of 5.
That sounds correct. I don't, it sounds like that guy maybe was having some kind of speech issues, but I definitely dropped a fade.
Is that the end of the review?
That's the end of the review.
Okay.
Auntie, have you played Disco Elysium?
I haven't.
All right, well, you should. It's
this is another game that I've been wanting to play.
It's not very great. I would give it a hard thumbs down. Don't
maybe
play
one of my favorite
give
games
it a pass. So here's the question that we got to decide: is when we have Dimmy on, are we going to talk to him about Sekiro or about Disco?
Both.
Or Omori.
Oh God!
Yes, all 3. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's gonna be so contentious.
That's gonna be a packed episode.
It's gonna be awful.
No, I mean, because the thing is that unlike those other games, which have redeeming factors, Disco is just not good. I mean, it's just not a fun game.
Well, I mean, Omori doesn't have really any redeeming factors, I don't think.
The music was good. It really
was okay. It wasn't. I mean, it's no Mass Effect, right? We can all agree on that. It's not as good as the Mass Effect soundtrack.
It achieved some significant emotional catharsis that I don't really think other video games have done for me, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of undercut by what happens after that, and it leaves you feeling bitter and angry that they would do that to you.
What, you mean like the emotional manipulation and lying and, just kind of baiting out, response? That's not really great. It's not cool.
And then, Sekiro has amazing combat that just feels good to play all the time, and that game has...
It does have good combat, but honestly, the fight that I quit Sekiro on was the ape fight, and it was because it was not enjoyable.
It's not a good fight. I've heard
it's not.
And the thing, I guess it's like maybe
it's cinematic, but the fight isn't good.
Maybe it's supposed to be fun if you can shoot the grapple hook or whatever, but that makes no sense to me and
you're not supposed to.
There's a bunch of grapple hook sites that you can do stuff to or something.
Yeah, you have to have like a very specific build, right?
No.
What?
There's just, I mean, I don't know why I never use them in fights.
Okay.
Really. I mean, there's some where you have to,
builds?
But not in that one.
You don't have to use builds in fights?
No, in Sekiro you don't have to really build your character at all. You just have a sword, go around doing stuff.
There's no building.
Oh. Sounds like you don't
Disco
understand
Elysium.
the game very well.
Disco Elysium's, it's really good.
It's bad. All right, I think I actually got to get going pretty soon. So do we want to kind of wrap this up at all?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
There was actually one more thing that I wanted to mention, and I don't know really like what there is to say about it. But like I didn't. So the thing is, as you might have noticed, like I haven't actually like played any games in the last 6 months besides Dark Souls 2.
Jesus.
That's a rough time.
That's bleak, dude. That's rough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's not true. I played a little bit of Pokemon Showdown.
Oh my god.
But anyway, it was fun times. But I was kind of surprised because I thought that like this wasn't really a show about like talking about video games.
It can be.
What did you think it was a show about?
Well, I kind of thought because I listened to like the first 10 minutes of the first episode.
Yeah.
I thought this was like a show about like kind of short selling the video game medium.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, Midnight doesn't play video games, so...
Also, I had so much more energy and passion for that first episode. I just, half-assing
At this point, it's old news.
Yeah.
I understand.
Any final thoughts that you want our listeners to hear, Auntie?
Are there any thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When can they expect your return to Smash 4? And will you be fighting those allegations?
Well, first of all, let me just say, Dream did nothing wrong.
Right.
And I stand with him unconditionally. And also, please return my calls. And secondly, I guess, I'm not really I don't really have an agenda when it comes to art. But I would just say, you know, Hollow Knight is the best game out there. It is. And we all have to live under the regime of Hollow Knight.
All right, I just have a few simple follow-up questions for that. Have you ever played Katamari Damacy?
I don't see how that's relevant.
Have
Good
you
point. Super relevant.
Ever played Metal Gear Solid 2?
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Have you ever played Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes?
Mountain Blade Warband.
Knight's Journey into Dreams?
Dragon Age Origins.
Look, here's the simple fact.
Flowers,
folks.
Sun, and Rain?
When one game is the best,
Fury's not
no other game can be the best.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Nitronic Rush?
And so then,
Mass Effect 2?
no matter what game you name,
Mass Effect 2 is not very good.
it's
Nier
not
Automata?
going to be the best because we already know what the best is.
Isn't Mass Effect 2 the game where they like added like thermal clips because they had infinite ammo in the previous games and they were like, wait, we can't do that anymore?
They did that.
So it's like it's a syllogism, right? You know,
Anti, I have one final.
all games are mortal.
I have
Shadow
one
of the
final question
Colossus is
for
a
you.
man. Shadow of the Colossus is mortal.
I have one final question for you.
Shoot.
Will the Boston Red Sox be number one in the American League East at the end of the season, yes or no?
I just sighed deeply, and I'm not sure that actually
It did
came
not
through
pick
on the
up.
mic.
No,
didn't.
you just...
Yeah, there's something wrong with this mic. I don't know what it is.
I mean, Discord has some pretty crazy sound filtering technology, but good app. I'll send it over later. I gotta go do some stuff.
Wait, you didn't answer the question.
Yes.
Thank you. That's where we'll end it.
All right, that's all from us here at the Last Video Game Podcast.
Thanks for listening.